Halloween was released in 1978 and was directed by John Carpenter. It stars Jamie Lee Curtis and Donald Pleasance and is about Michael Myers 15 years after he murders his sister. He escapes the mental asylum that he's in and wreaks havoc on his hometown and stalks Laurie Strode. So whenever you think of Halloween, this is the first movie that you probably think of. This is probably the most famous horror movie to ever come out. And it's really funny because it was never supposed to be that. It was made on a budget of like $300,000. And now it's become this iconic horror movie that everybody knows. There's like 13 or 14 different Halloween movies. They're coming out with a new one next year. I mean, this is the most iconic movie to portray Halloween. And the question always is this a good movie? And if you say no, then you probably have a really bad taste in movies, because this is one of the greatest Halloween movies and horror movies ever created. I mean, I don't want to talk it up as much as I am, but really, this created a genre of horror, the slasher, that basically created all of the different horror movies of the 80s and of the early 90s to where Scream was made to make fun of the genre. I mean, this really created its own world of horror movies, and let's just start talking about it because I love this movie. So one of the greatest things about this movie is Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis. Rest in peace, but he is 1000% the best part about this movie. He has this amazing speech about evil, which words can't describe how great this speech is. Tina, just play the clip of his speech about evil.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong. I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
And the crazy thing is, this wasn't supposed to be a great horror movie. I mean, it was made to kind of be a cash grab, to kind of get some money, for studios, but John Carpenter created this iconic horror movie, this iconic horror icon, on this little budget, and I'm talking it up, there are flaws with it, which I will go into, but this isn't a movie that you want to talk about the flaws. You want to talk about all the great things that it does. I mean, it defined horror for the next few decades. I mean, it basically created this whole entire universe of different Halloween movies. I mean, there's 6 in the original run, then there was some weird Rob Zombie ones, then they came back to the original timeline, and then they jumped to a new timeline that takes place after the first movie. I mean, at this point, it kind of feels like a cash grab, because the most recent Halloween I came out with wasn't the best, but it really defined horror, this movie, and you should watch this movie. You could watch the review after, just watch this movie. So, more pros about this movie: it feels really realistic, and I know, like, later on in the flaws I will say something that isn't as realistic, but in the sense that there's a psycho murderer stalking people and killing people. That's very realistic and is a real fear. And it really plays off of that, and it actually is pretty scary, some sequences where they're in this house and they don't know that he's there, but us as an audience is like, oh my god, like, you're just gonna walk in the house by yourself? Like, you're just gonna get in a car by yourself? You're in a horror movie. But just fantastic job of hiding Michael in certain scenes and having him jump out, or just him being so creepy as himself. I mean, he doesn't speak throughout the entire movie. He's just dead silent, doesn't say anything, has a mask on his face, and just murders people. And It's pretty scary. And the last big pro that I want to talk about is the score. It has one of the most iconic horror themes. And I know I keep on using the word iconic, but really this movie deserves to keep on being said iconic. I mean, this score is so popular, and a lot of different composers tried to pay homage to it. Everyone knows it. I'm gonna get demonetized if I play the music, so I can't, but you know it. You just know the score. You could hear it in your head. Just listen to it in your head a little bit. It's nice. So we've talked about some pros, and now sadly I do need to mention some cons, which the biggest con of this movie is the acting. Donald Pleasance is fantastic as Dr. Loomis, but other than that, the acting really isn't that great. Jamie Lee Curtis is alright. There's a few scenes where she overacts a little bit, mostly once she starts getting chased by Michael. Annie, her acting is very rough. Bob isn't the best, but you could look past it. It's not bad enough where you're like, oh, this is terrible. It's just bad enough where you're like, oh, that's kind of funny. But that's really the only con I have with this movie. I mean, you could probably come up with a few other ones. Like, you could say it's a little bit corny now, but honestly, this is one of the best horror movies ever created. And with that being said, I'm going to give this movie a 10 out of 10. And I 1000% recommend it. So thank you everyone for tuning in to the first Spooky Sunday. Leave a comment down below of some other movies you would like to see for Spooky Sundays, and just some other movies you would like to see during the month of October. This is spooky season, and I will be throwing out this content for you. So again, thank you everyone for watching, and let's flash forward to the next review.